Hey, how y'all doing out there in YouTube land? This is Stiletto coming at you from the Wild Wild West. Well, today we're just going to do one on the American Lawman and the Code 4. Why? Because Wild Bill asked me to. He wanted to see a comparison between the two. After seeing my my new Code 4, I mean not my new Code 4, but my new American Lawman video. All right, well. I got examples of all my Code 4s and Lawmen out here. These are my two first ones. I bought these both at the same time, and this one I removed the polish from it. These are the Oz 8 ones. This is CTS 6HP, the last of the hologrounds. I'm not sure if they made any S35VNs in hologround or not. They might have, but I know that they made all the CTS 6HP ones. They were all hologround. Just like all the Oz 8 ones, they were all hologround too. And this is my new one, the Saber Ground, high flat ground, Saber Ground, whichever one you want to call it. Code Steel, Code 4, with S35VN still, CPM S35VN. DLC coded. And that's pretty much the same as the old one. Except for it's a lot smoother. This is probably the smoothest one I've had since I've had this one. Alright, and these are my Code 4s. This is Oz 8. And then after the Oz 8 ones, they made the CTS 6HP ones. This is CTS 6HP. And then this is S35VN. Then after that one, came the S35VN with the DLC coating. This one's from last year, with the spear point blade. They didn't make these with the Tonto blade. Otherwise I would have had the Tonto, because the Tonto is my favorite blade for the Code 4. But this one also needs to be out here because this is the best comparison, because this is really a comparison video between the Code 4 and the American Lawman. I just want to show you all of these because and let you all know that I've been carrying these both of them for a very long time. This was the first one I carried, the Code 4s, and as you can see, it's all polished. All my Oz 8 ones, I have 2 or 3 of these, and they're all polished. I polished all of them. I don't have one that looks stock anymore. These I used a lot. I actually use them a lot because, number one, you know why I use it a lot, because you guys know I like the American Tonto from Cold Steel. And this is one of my favorite American Tonto folders from Cold Steel. That's a smaller size, like, it's a little bit smaller than a Recon 1, large Recon 1. I think it's actually a good size for EDC, everyday carry. The only thing I didn't like about this one for EDC, for like a work knife, because I never carried this one to work because I polished it. This was a knife that I carried when I wasn't at work. And I wasn't worried about people seeing the pocket clip because I knew it was a legal size, because back when I used to carry this, they used to consider knives that were 4 inches or longer, not 3 inches or longer like they do now, but 4 inches or longer, consider them like they can be a dangerous weapon. And this one has a 3.75 inch blade. I know they listed it as a 3.5, but it's really closer to 3 3/4. It's about a 1/4 inch short of being 4 inches. So it's actually a very good sized pocket knife. And it fits in within the legal perimeters of when I used to carry it all the time. So I wasn't worried if somebody saw the flashy pocket clip, because let's say if law enforcement saw it, if they pulled me over for a speeding ticket or something, if I was on my bike or something, if they saw this, I could tell them exactly what it is, and they would know it's legal. And that happened to me a couple of times when I had because I used to always carry my Voyagers all the time too. And I had that happen to me once when I was carrying the Voyager, a 4-inch Voyager, here where I live, not where I had one confiscated at, but here where I live. And the officer saw it in my pocket, and he said, "What's that, a Cold Steel Voyager?" And I said, "Yep." I said, "Do you want to see it?" And he goes, "Oh, no, that's okay." And then, just proceeded to give me my, he didn't even give me a ticket, he just gave me a warning and let me go. And that was a good day. That was a good officer. But this size was the size I used to carry all the time. Just like, like now I carry, well, I also carried the Code 4s when I was carrying these. I mean, not the Code 4s, but the American Lawman when I was carrying these too, because I had them both at the same time. I think I had these first. I think the American Lawman, these two right here, came out before these. I think these came out after these, after my American Lawman. I think that's how it went. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to go back and do some research. But I think I had these before I had these. That's what I'm saying. Because these came out a long time ago. They've been making American Lawmen for a long time. And these aren't even the first generation. The first generation of American Lawmen had stainless steel liners with G10. And a triad lock with Oz 8 blade. And then this was the second generation without the liners. It didn't have stainless steel liners no more, so it lessened the weight. The first one was a true Andrew Demko American Lawman. But that's before I got into this knife though. I got into this knife when this model came out. Because I used to like watching Nut and Fancy. You guys know who Nut Fancy is? I used to like watching his videos back in the day. I'm talking like around 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. I can't remember when Nut and Fancy first started making videos. He's one of the first people I used to watch his videos. And he used to always talk about not having steel liners. And so, before then, every knife I had, I think it always had steel liners. Steel liners or copper liners or brass liners, whatever they used to use. Or stainless steel or whatever. But I did have knives with steel liners, or metal liners. I should just say metal liners. Because they're made out of different kind of metals and stuff. Like all the old classic knives. I think they use copper, if I'm not mistaken. Copper and brass. And then they also used to use like nickel silver bolsters. And then I've had a lot of knives that were all stainless steel or mixtures of different kind of alloys, like like titanium or aluminum, 6061 or 7075. But they always had like the old buck knives I used to carry. Those were brass, and they always had liners that were metal. And I can't remember if anybody really started doing knives like this without steel liners that I can really remember that I used to purchase anyway. I didn't really. The only knives I started purchasing like this was the cold steel ones, because I used to listen to Nut and Fancy, and he liked the cold steels, and so then I started trying them out. I remember I got my first. I already had some cold steels like the Thai Lights, but I didn't have any of the triads. And my first triad was the Voyager. And I got the Voyager right when they first came out. And I still have that one. And it still functions flawlessly. And that knife got carried, and that knife went through hell. I absolutely love these. I don't know. I just like the American Lawman handle. I like the way the blade. This is a good blade shape for utility. For everyday cutting chores, and a hollow ground is a good type of grind for a utility knife, in my opinion. If a knife that you're actually using for cutting chores, not necessarily a self-defense tool or anything like that. But any knife could be used as a self-defense tool, especially one with a triad lock. And thick scales like this, so super strong, 3.5 millimeter blade stock. These are awesome folders. 3.5 inch blade. Awesome folders. Absolutely love these. But these are awesome folders too. Code 4. It's a beautiful knife. And now they're making these with black handles and DLC coated blades. Absolutely love them. The balance on these is awesome. They're basically like, I don't know, like a downsized Recon 1 with aluminum handles. These are 6061 heat treated aluminum handles. that have been plated. I think this is the EDP electric discharge plating or something like that. I can't remember what they call it exactly. I think it's the same type of stuff that they used on the tie lights, the aluminum tie lights. And I've never tried to take off this coating because I like it. So I never had a desire to remove it or anything because I actually like this coating. And this coating is actually very durable. It's not a coating that wears easily. So it's a very good coating. And so I liked it. So I've always I never tried to polish it. But I imagine if it's like the tie lights or the tie light 6s with the aluminum handles, the 7075 aluminum handles, that is really hard to remove. The electric discharge plating, EDP plating. It's super hard to remove. And if that's the case, this is probably really hard to remove too. So I wouldn't try to do it unless the knife was all messed up and you just had to do it. I've been known to do that. When something gets messed up, I want to make it look nice again. And that's the reason why all these got polished, because I used these. I damaged the edges and had to redo the edges. I might have made a mistake on the blade and scratched something a little bit, and I didn't like that, so I made sure I polished it all the way back out. That's how a lot of these knives, old knives of mine, get polished, because they're the ones I used a lot. I didn't polish them just because I wanted to make them fancy. I polished them because I was removing scars. This one especially. Because at first, I just polished the back strap, and I had to resharpen it and redid the edge and polish the edge. That was stage one. It still was all blacked out and everything like that. And then this started wearing off, and the rest of the stuff started wearing off, so I just took it all the way off. But it was like it had a different type of finish. It was almost like a stonewash finish, sort of. And I left it like that for a while and had all the labeling on it still and everything like that. And then I kept using it. It just got scarred up and kept rolling the edge and having to resharpen it and redo it. And sometimes when I resharpen it, I might have scratched it a little bit, so then I would polish it all back out. And over years of carrying this knife and repolishing it and stuff like that, that's what it looks like now. You can't even see the labeling no more because I'm kind of finicky and meticulous with my knives. If I damage them, I repair them. I don't leave them damaged. I don't want to carry something that looks like it's all beat up and worn out and belongs to Wino Joe. All my self-defense tools, I keep them tuned perfectly. All of them. That's just the way I am. Because why have something like that, if it's not going to be functional? It's got to be in perfect condition all the time. The edge's got to be razor sharp. It's got to be ready to go. This one I never used. This was meant to be a collector. I bought 2 of them at a time because I knew I was going to like them. And this is the way the other one looked originally. They never came polished or anything. They were always all blacked out. And this is a Tough X finish, what they call the Tough X. And I hated the Tough X finish because this doesn't wear nicely. It's more like a paint. And all you got to use to remove it is paint thinner. You don't have to use any kind of sanding, or you have to do any sanding or anything like that. Just put the paint remover on it and let it sit and follow the directions, and then use don't use anything metal or anything that can scrape the blade when you go to scrape off the paint or whatever. Use like a popsicle stick or something like that. I like to use popsicle sticks because they're wood and they're soft and it won't scratch the metal. But that's how you do that. You have to make it look more like this. These, the CTS XHP one, this knife I carry for 5 or 6 years. Carried it until recently. Now it's been replaced with the S35VN one. But I still love this one. Don't get me wrong. I love the hollow grind. I think for these kind of knives, I really like the hollow grind the best. But I want to try out I'm trying out the new one now, the S35VN. I've already had to resharpen it once. You can see it's got a polished edge now instead of the factory edge. And why did I have to resharpen it? Because I was opening up something that had steel in it, and the blade hit the steel, and it damaged the edge a little bit. It didn't chip it or anything, it just dulled it. And so, that, you know, me being meticulous me, you know, I had to take care of that. So, this one I never had an instant like that. I've carried it for almost 6 years and never did anything. It's only opened boxes, never hit metal or anything. So, it has the original factory edge on it. All it's been is stropped. It's never been resharpened. It's just been stropped. It's never been reprofiled, resharpened, and it's still razor sharp. I love CTS HP. It's one of my favorite steels. That's the only knife steel I've ever had that kind of experience with. Every other kind of knife steel, I've always had to resharpen it. These, I used to resharpen. These taught me how to resharpen knives. The Oz 8. My Oz 8 knives I used to use. These knives. CTS HP. Now, by the time I got this one, I wasn't really carrying these no more. I was on to carrying, you know, other knives or whatever. But I just wanted to get, because this is one of my favorite knives, the Code 4. And so I wanted it, you know, a CTS XHP version. This one I just got last year, I think it was, because I was trying to get things before they were all gone and disappeared. And it was one of those knives I'd put off, you know, because I have 3 of them already. You know, I didn't really need another one. And there's other things that kept coming out that I didn't have that I really wanted to try out that I'd never had. And so I didn't go back and get that. And I didn't go back and get it until recently. I got Ultimate Hunter last year too. The CTS 6HP Ultimate Hunter, you know, that's been one I always wanted to get, but there was other things that came out that I wanted more. I don't know, because I don't know, once you have a really good cold steel triad, you know, you get several different models. You get to the point where you really don't need it anymore because they're all the same size and they're all your favorite blade types. And like these knives, I love these knives. The Cold Steel Code 4 and the American Lawman. These are kind of knives I would carry every day. I carry these, you know, I've been carrying this one since I got it every day. That's taken over my pocket. This one right here, this is the S35VN one. I got this one when it first came out, I think, if I remember right. Or it might have been last year or the year before, something like that. This one I got last year. It's the S35VN one also. I think I did videos on this one. And that's them. Well, I got one more. Let me show you before we go on to talk about something else. There's one more I want to show you. And this is my favorite Code 4. You're about to see my favorite Code 4, and this is the way I keep it. Why is it my favorite? I've done a video on this one when I made it. It's because it's my snaggletooth. My snaggletooth MF Code 4. I bought this knife I ordered this knife from Snaggletooth, and they did the scales for me in the widow pattern. I call this the Black Widow, this knife. And it has a DLC coated, this is when they first came out, the DLC coated Code 4 spear point with the S35VN, CPM S35VN stainless steel blade. And it has their pocket loop. Turns it in sort of like a karambit. But I don't use it like that. I just like this because I have this set up for front right pocket carry for reverse grip draw. So like when I grab it, I just grab it and I let the blade hit and bam, it opens up. So when it opens up, it's like this, and you're holding it like that. And so it's a really nice knife for SD. EDC. But this is my favorite Code 4. And that came from Rob at Snaggletooth. You can still get these, I think. I think you can still get these. But when you get a Code 4 like this, it goes from being, you know, all these knives, when I first bought them, they were all under $100. All of these knives. But when you do all of this and everything, and you put the Snaggletooth stuff on it and everything like that, it goes over $100 then. But, you know, you get yourself a custom knife. You know, this is not the only pattern. Snaggletooth has a CNC machine where they can make all sorts of different kinds of patterns out of the Code 4s with the aluminum handles. And probably any knife with aluminum handle, I'm sure. Anyway, I just wanted to put that one out there for a second. Let's get into these. Okay, this is coming out of the 2019 number 50 Special Projects catalog from Cold Steel from back in the day. Okay, the American Lawman, 4 ounces. Thickness, 3.5 millimeters. Blade length, 3.5 inches. Handle length, 4 5/8. Steel CPM S35VN. Overall length, 8 1/8. Code 4, weight, 4.3 ounces. Thickness, 3.5 millimeters for blade. Blade is 3.5 inches, but we know it's longer than that, at least I do. Handle length is 5 inches. Steel CPM S35VN. Overall length 8.5 inches. That's what I'm looking at. Okay, now we got the specs out the way. Let's check them out and see if they weigh what they say they weigh. Okay, this is the S35VN American Lawman. Let's weigh that one. .2 ounces. They said it weighed 4.0. It weighs 4.2 ounces. That sort of makes me wonder if they were actually making hollow grind ones in 2019. Does anybody know the answer to that? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if this is a brand new knife with the saber ground, you know, since GSM took over. Because I just bought this knife. This knife is my newest knife. And so I don't know if it, you know, if that is a new thing from GSM where they went from a hollow grind to a flat grind. Does anybody know? If you do, you know, say something in your comments. But anyway, here we go. See, that one's 4.0, and this is the hollow ground CTS XHP one. So I wonder if when it's hollow ground, if it weighs 4.0, and when it's saber ground, it weighs 4.2. Because I actually think that the saber ground blade might be a little bit heavier. That's one of the reasons why I think it functions a lot better, because the blade stock is heavier. These were heavier than both of them because they have the thick G10 scales. 4.6 ounces, 4.6. And when you take the pocket clip off, they weigh 4.5, 4.5 ounces. Okay, this is an Oz 8. 4.3, just like the catalog says, 4.3. CTS XHP, 4.4. S35VN, 4.3. One thing I want to point out about CTS XHP, it always seems like it weighs a little bit more. And same thing with like the Oz 10 steel. It seems like it weighs more than other steels. I don't know what it is, but like when you put it on the same knife, always the knife weighs a little bit more. Even though it's the same thickness and everything else, made by the same company and with the same grind, and it just weighs a little bit more. I don't know if it means it's more dense or what. I don't know. Anybody know? I'm not a metallurgist, so I don't know. Okay, here we go. 4.2. So these two, these are the ones that we're going to compare today. Let's move these out the way, the old ones. Let's talk about these two. These are the two new ones. So they both weigh the same. 4.2 ounces, 4.2 ounces. So in that aspect, they're exactly alike. Okay, let's talk about blade length next. I'm trying to line them up perfectly. Do I have anything I can use? Let me see. I know I can use. Let's see if we can get them perfectly lined up. Okay, that looks like it's about as close as we can get it. Blade length. I'm measuring from the handle scale. 3 1/4 exactly. 3 1/4. 3 1/4 inches. So it's not 3 1/2 inches. 3 1/4 inches. This one is. Let's see. It's a little bit over 3 1/2. I don't know. I guess you can call this 3 1/2 inches. It's a little bit over 3 1/2. It's like 1/8 of an inch over 3 1/2 inches. And this one's under 3 1/2 inches. This one's 3 1/4. I'm getting 3 1/4 still. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm measuring from the highest point on the handle scale to the tip of the blade is 3 1/4. So it's not even the cutting edge. The cutting edge is about 3 inches. A touch over 3 inches. Cutting edge on this one is almost 3 1/2 inches. A little bit less than 3 1/2 inches. How am I measuring that? Oh no, it's under 3 1/2 inches. It's almost like 3 1/4. A little bit more than 3 1/4. So this one has a little bit longer blade. This one has a shorter blade. Now where I live, any knife that has a blade that's longer than 3 inches, they can consider it a dangerous weapon. Now that doesn't mean that's illegal. That means that the police officer sees you and thinks you look dangerous maybe. I don't know. That's the way I sort of interpret it. Is that they can use their own judgment as to whether or not they should confiscate it from you or not. That's where I live. But it's not a felony or a misdemeanor or anything like that. It's not against the law. It's just that I think it depends on the circumstance. Let's say if you're drunk or something and you have a knife on you, they'll probably take it from you. Or something like that. If your behavior is kind of erratic or whatever, I think that's when they would take it from you. Because I've had police officers in my area, I get pulled over speeding tickets or something on my bike, and like the last time it was, I got a warning, but the police officer saw the knife in my pocket, and it was a Voyager, a large Voyager, Tonto Voyager, and he didn't see the knife in my pocket, but he saw the pocket clip, because he wanted me to lift up my shirt or whatever, see if I was carrying anything. I told him I had a pocket knife. I lifted up my shirt. He goes, "Oh, what's that? A cold steel Voyager?" I said, "Yep." And he goes, "I go, you want to see it?" He goes, "Oh no, that's okay." And he just gave me a warning or whatever. I think he really just wanted to look at my bike. I've gotten pulled over because officers just want to look at bikes and stuff too before. They act like they're pulling you over for a violation, but they really I think they just want, and all they do is ask you questions about your motorcycle. So, that's what happens sometimes. So you just gotta be careful. You can be doing nothing at all, and somebody's gonna pull you over just, out of this, I don't know, just because they want to. In my world, anyway. But anyway, I really love these. Wild Bill, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's a matter of preference. That's all it is. Because both of these knives are awesome knives. Up until now, this one always had a hollow grind like this one. Up until now, they were always like this. They both had hollow grinds. This one had a little bit wider wider blade. This one had the narrower blade. This one to me is more like a downsized Recon 1. You know, especially when it has the Tonto. It really looks like my Tonto Recon 1 to me. It looks like a downsized Recon 1. I think that's what they made. That's what the whole, where Andrew probably got the idea from this one. He just wanted to make a knife that, it was, you know, because people at that time, I don't know if you can remember, they were complaining about the G10 and how it used to tear up everybody's pockets. Remember that? And then they came out with the Code 4 with the aluminum handles. And it was really, to me, just like a downsized Recon 1. So it made it more EDC friendly and it was lighter. And, you know, it had the smooth side so it was easy to carry, you know, without tearing up your pockets. And I really love it. I think it's an awesome knife, and I think it's a really good knife if you're wearing something that you don't want to get torn up. Basically, you know, you can still carry a real cold steel knife, because this is a real cold steel knife. You know, it's a triad, a super strong triad, 6061 heat treated aluminum handles. This is a really awesome knife. You know, it's got a 6061 heat treated back spacer also. I don't know what kind of coating this is on the black on these, but I know the blades are supposed to be DLC coated. But the coating on the handle looks nice too, though. But these, I just like the way G10 feels. I mean, you know, that's just me. All my favorite cold steel knives are always the G10 ones. My most favorite cold steels are always the ones with the G10 handle scales. I just like the way G10 feels. My favorite tie light is the G10 tie light. Everybody's going to say, well, how come you don't always have that one in your box or whatever? Because they became real expensive. I bought mine for like $100 a piece or something like that. And now they're, you know, then I saw the prices jump on them. And so I decided to collect them. One of them I used to carry. And the other one I never carried because I bought two at a time. I bought two of them because I knew I was going to collect one and carry one. But I absolutely love these knives. This one I've had to resharpen already because I hit some metal, and so that's the reason why you see the edge is polished. But this one, to me, it operates better than any of them. And I love the grip. I love the grip. I love the grip on these. Because you got the rear grip, which is a full grip. It's a full grip. And in every grip it's super comfortable and you feel super safe because this finger choil, like, you know, just like on my flippers, this has a big giant finger choil. And I just love the way the big finger choil feels. I'm a big finger choil. I like this. That's why I like my finger guards to be. I just like the big finger choil like that. Those are the kind of handles I like the best, I think. And then this has the other feature I like. Andrew Demko doesn't care for the forward finger choil. I've heard him say that before in interviews. But me, I love it. I love knives with forward finger choils. I absolutely love them. And with this one, this is another feature about this one that I really like. And I'm gonna let you all know about. People that don't know, that never had a code for an American Lawman before, is that when the blade closes, the finger choil is what your finger hits. So when it closes, you hit the finger choil. And you know, that is super comfortable. It feels super safe to you can do this all day and you're never going to get hurt. You're never going to get hurt. The American Lawman won't hurt you. The American Lawman is a good guy. American Lawman's not a bad guy. It won't hurt you. You can do that all day long. And that the finger choil just like engulfs your finger and it just feels really comfortable. I don't know how, that's the only knife that I have that feels like that. I think that's one reason why it's my favorite knife, because out of all the cold steel knives, this is the most fun one to fidget with. You know, at first you got to break them in sometimes. This one came already like this. I've never taken this knife apart. The only thing I did to it was oil it with Militech oil. I did not take it apart. I have not adjusted this knife. This knife has not needed any adjustment since I've had it. And the blade, there's no blade wobble at all in this knife. None at all. No up and down, no side to side, and I've been constantly playing with it since I've had it. I absolutely love it. And any knife that could put up my abuse is a pretty good knife. As far as like, you know, like not falling apart. Because I know other people do cutting tests and stuff like that, but who does fidgeting tests? You know what I mean? Because most of us, you know, I don't know about you, but I bet you a lot of you guys out there, guys and gals, whoever's watching, I bet you a lot of you like to fidget. You know, I bet you a lot of you are like me. You like to, you know, fidget with your pocket knife. You know what I mean? My grandpa, he used to carry a pocket knife and he used to like to carve. He was always whittling and carving something. Always. He was sit out in front of his house and carve stuff, smoke cigars and drink whiskey. He was almost 100 years old. And he drank whiskey and smoked cigars all of his life. Came from Louisiana. All right. This one, these are awesome knives too. And that's how it hits your finger, just like any other cold steel. But it does have a pretty long tang. It does have a pretty long blade tang, so this one's, you know, this one won't hurt you either. But to me, they're just not as fidgety. And like this one, after a while, it like hurts my, you can see like it's right here. That's from the lock bar, because the lock bar is stiff. But this knife is basically like a new knife though, because I've never carried it. It's never been lubed or oiled or anything. This is a stock knife. So it has a pretty strong spring. Now this one that has been tuned isn't like that. But it's still not as fidgety as my American Lawman. This is my old one. And this one has been tuned, and it's actually kind of over-tuned. Because I tuned the lock bar spacing and everything else like that inside of here. That's how I used to do lots of times. And before I figured out that that's not really the best thing to do, because it's really easy to overdo it. Because you end up making it so smooth that your lock bar digs down a little bit too far. But it still locks up solid. No wiggle or nothing. It's an awesome knife. But now it's super fidgety. Once you do all that to it, it gets super fidgety. But the thing is though, do you want to have to do all that? I don't. It's a lot of work. And you got to get it right, because if you don't get it right, you mess up the knife. So I would suggest, if you like having knives that are fidgety, I would pick the American Lawman, especially this new one with the what do you call it, the saber ground blade or the high flat ground blade, this S35VN one. Because I'm tempted to go get another one, because this is really a smooth knife. I want to get one just to collect, because I've already modified this one by sharpening it. So this one's a total user now. And I like it. I'm glad it's a total user. That's all my favorite knives, start out like this. You know what I mean? They have something where I have to resharpen them, and I have to start modifying that or doing this or whatever. And I absolutely love this one. And it's super fidgety. This is the most fidgety back lock, or what do you call it, lock back, mid lock back that I've ever had. And I've had a lot of mid lock backs from different companies. And this is the most fidgety one I've ever had. Not this knife in particular. Where's the other one? There you go. But this one, when I used to carry it, it was even more fidgety than it is now. I think it just needs to be tuned and re-lubed and everything else like that. But this is a super fidgety knife too when it's lubed and ready to go. And up until now, this was my favorite. This used to be my favorite knife to fidget with. Was the old Oz 8 one. Why? Because I just love the thick scales. The thick scales are like super comfortable. And then when you take the pocket clip off, like on this one, oh man, this knife feels so good in your hand. This is a knife that I carry in the wintertime a lot. I'll carry it. I carry either this one or my medium Espada. I have a Espada that's an old Oz 8 Espada too that I polished out. Or my Recon 1 that I've polished. Those are like my favorite pocket knives. And I also have a holdout that I polish. And they're all in Oz 8, and those are my favorite knives to carry inside jacket pockets. And they're all polished like this, because I like to carry polished knives in my jacket pockets. But for my pants pocket, my right pants pocket, I like blacked out knives. I don't want, because when something's in your jacket pocket, it can't be seen at all. You know what I mean? It's totally out of sight. And so it's okay if it's shiny and polished or whatever. You know, because I love the way polished knives look. I think they're beautiful. I like seeing metal that's totally finished. You know, if something's not polished, to me it's not totally finished. I mean, if it's just got like a brush finish or whatever, that's not a total finish. A total finish is like a polished finish. The polished finish takes the most work to do. This takes a lot of work to get a knife to look like this. Like I said, this is how it looks over years and years of polishing it and redoing it, and this is not just one attempt at trying to do something. That I've had this knife for a long time and it's been polished a lot of times. It's one of my most favorite knives. And my Recon 1s are the same way. I have 2 Recon 1s that are polished also. And they're the same way, you know, because they've been totally polished. They don't have any labeling on them anymore. But they've been totally polished. But I would say, you know, it's just a matter of you know, what you like or whatever. If you like the G10, I would go with the American Lawman. If you like this type of grip, where you got all these different types of grips that are really feel really secure and comfortable, I would go with the American Lawman. If you like the way it feels when the blade folds back on your hand, I would go with the American Lawman. But if you want the longer blade, I would go with the Code 4. If you want a hologram blade nowadays, you know, you definitely go with the Code 4 because American Lawman's not hologram no more. Not the new S35 version, S35EN version. If you like aluminum handle scales, definitely go with the Code 4. The Code 4's build quality is awesome. It's an awesome knife. I think the Code 4 and the American Lawman, I think they're probably some of your best budget knives for under, you know, I call budget knife anything that's under $100. I think they're some of your best values. Especially, you know, from the you know, like the $60 to $100 range. Actually, be like $70 to $100 range, more like that. I think there's some of your best values that you can get. Absolutely love them. One thing I do like about the Code 4 though, over the American Lawman, and it's the reason why I have most of my Code 4s are this one, is because I like the Tonto. Now, that's a totally different thing to me. Now, if you're comparing this one to American Lawman, it gets really kind of equal for me because I'm a Tonto person. I really like the Tonto. I like the Tonto more than I like a spear point. Why? I don't know. I just like Tontos. It's my preference. Most of my SD knives are Tonto blades. My favorite ones anyway. And so I'm a person that just likes Tontos. Now if they made an all blacked out Tonto, oh man, that'd be tough. But I love spare points too, but I love Tontos a little bit more. I like the Tontos the Tonto Code 4 is my favorite Code 4. I just wish they made it blacked out. They haven't made it blacked out yet. And they also have a Bowie blade too, or a clip blade. So there's 3 different blade types that you could choose from. You could choose from either the spear point, the Tonto, or a clip. And now the blade types that they offer, my 2 favorite are the spear and the Tonto. That's the reason why I have spears and Tontos. Lots of my knives are spear points. You know, if I can't get a Tonto, that's like always another blade type I like. You know, if something is a spear. Because a spear to me is sort of like a usable dagger. Is that a good way to put it? Because you got a wide blade and lots of cutting edge and everything else like that for cutting, but you still have sort of the shape of a dagger. And so that's one reason why I like the spear. The Tonto blade is a battle blade. This blade is made to withstand everything without breaking the tip and stuff like that. You'll be able to hit something hard and you won't destroy it. And it's made for combat. To me, the American Tonto is totally designed to be a combat blade. That's just what I think about it. I know everybody has their own opinions. Anyway, and that's it for today. I'm probably rambling on way too long, as usual. Peace out, Stiletto. Hope everybody's doing good out there.